All right, guys, you are in for a treat with this episode. So you heard from Stephanie once already on the podcast on episode 91. And now she is back to chat about her website templates from my shop. So on episode 91, Stephanie and I talked all things Instagram Reels, which if you've seen, I started making Instagram Reels a lot now, literally after that conversation with her. And as you'll see, that episode was obviously super inspiring to me, talking to her about Instagram Reels. And she's just as inspiring this episode talking about website templates. So I'm so excited for this conversation and to tell you a bit about it. So Stephanie has the Jenna template from my shop and the Sarah sales funnel kit from my shop. So the Jenna template is one of the full site templates, and that's what she's using for like all the main pages of her site. And the Sarah sales funnel kit is a sales funnel template, basically sales pages and things of that nature that Stephanie's using for some of the stuff like her digital course. So she utilized them both for her brand really beautifully, and she's dropping all the details today. So a couple things we're going to cover. So we talk about the wins Stephanie had when she launched her website, including $3,000 in shop sales just over a 2-day period when she did a sale to celebrate her site launch. Super cool story there, and a lot of tips I think you guys will take away from that. She also shares her tips for customizing your website template quickly and with ease, which that's one of my favorite questions to ask customers of like, how did you do this? What tips do you have as a non-designer? And she shares some really great ones. She also talks about how she picked which template to get, which is super interesting. It might be helpful to you if you're someone who's like, oh, I really like Elizabeth's templates, but I just don't know which one. I think hearing her perspective will be really interesting for you. And she also talks about how she built a brand from the website template. And that's a really cool story. So there's so much more to that, but that's a little gist of it. So I'm going to roll this interview, but hope you enjoy it. Hope this gives you insights into whether or not a template from my shop is for you. And just know you can check out these templates at any time. We're going to link to it in the show notes, but elizabethmccravy.com/shop will take you to all the templates that are for sale and all the details on them. You can always email myself and my team at any point too with any questions you have, and we are here to help. So fun. Enjoy my conversation with my friend, Stephanie Case. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Elizabeth McCravy, and you're listening to the Breakthrough Brand Podcast. Each week, I'll bring you workshop-style trainings that teach you how to stand out online, design success from the inside out, and create a breakthrough business. It's time to turn viewers into raving fans and design the business and life of your dreams. I'm so excited you're here. Okay, guys, I'm back with the wonderful Stephanie Case. And funny thing, you guys got to hear on episode 91 talking all things Instagram Reels. And now we actually recorded these back to back. So we are just in a continuous conversation right now. But now you guys are hearing this one a lot later. And if you haven't listened to the previous episode with Stephanie, definitely go back to listen to it, all about Instagram Reels. But today, she's going to just be sharing all the things about her template experience with MShop, which I think is so fun to let you guys, you hear from me on the podcast with like, here's why I think you should buy a template, but hearing from someone who has bought a template, implemented it themselves, and all the things. And I absolutely love Stephanie's website. So anyway, welcome, Stephanie. And to kind of start us off, tell everyone what you do, who you serve, and all of that for context.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me again.
Yes.
I'm Stephanie Case. I am a photographer and an educator from Columbus, Ohio, and I've been in business for almost 5 years now, probably 5 years by the time this episode goes live, which is really exciting. And I was primarily a photographer for the first 4 to 5 years of my business. And recently in the past year, have taken a big pivot. And online education is also a big part of my business. So, online courses, shop products, speaking, all of that fun stuff, and helping photographers and small business owners with all of that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And I think you're such a fun person too. I just thought of this, but to talk about with like website template stuff, because you do services of photography, which so many people listening do services, but then you are also in the online course space. And like when are you launching your course, by the way? The one for photographers.
Yes, it's on November 16th. That's the Monday, right? Yes, that's my launch date.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so we'll have to link to all that. So you have just launched your course, which is amazing. And you have a shop. So I think it's cool though that like you're doing a lot of the different things, because some people listening are like, I do online courses. Some people are like, I do services. Some people are like, I have a small shop. So you have all of those. So, okay, let's kind of to back it up. So you have two templates. You have the Jenna template and you have the Sarah sales funnel kit, and you bought the Jenna template mid-June. You launched at the end of July. So kind of tell everyone, let's talk about the Jenna template first. How'd you find the template shop? How'd you pick your template? All of that stuff.
Yeah, so I kind of went into 2020 with a brand that was beautiful and was done by it was a custom design, but it was not where I was at anymore. And I felt like it wasn't portraying my personality very well. And I really wanted something that would help my personal brand come to life, because at that point in my business, I was really moving even more into online education. I was a photographer. I needed something that almost kind of merged those things together. And really the focus of it was me and my personality, because my personal brand had grown so much and a lot of people had come to know me for my personal brand. And then it was kind of like, oh, and by the way, here's all the things I offer, because I am so multi-passionate. So I think I originally found you through Showit's like website designers page. I think that's the first time I like saw your name. And then I think I searched again on Instagram for like Showit designers, and you popped up and I was like, okay, who is this girl? And honestly, just like instantly fell in love. And like I found your podcast and I binged a bunch of your episodes and became obsessed and started telling everyone about it. And I think one thing that really drew me to you, because I did so much research on different designers, different templates, but one thing that I just kept coming back to yours was how much personality they had. And because that was such a big goal of mine, I knew it was going to come together really well. And also how they were built more to convert and not just to look pretty. And that was something I was finding with a lot of website designers, was their designs were beautiful, but they didn't understand strategy or getting things to convert. And I knew, especially moving my business more into online education away from just services, I needed something that didn't just look pretty for clients, but also was going to be built to convert people who were thinking about purchasing online products.
Yes. I love all that. And I think it's interesting too, just for people listening, if they didn't catch it, but that you had a custom website and now went to a template, which I think a lot of people think it has to go, you start with a template and then it's custom. But sometimes I've had a lot of customers who had a custom site and then went to a template, and you can use them for either at any time in your business. So that's amazing. And then how'd you pick the Jenna template specifically? I think that's fun to talk about.
Yeah. So I honestly, just out of all of the different ones, I was trying to decide between that one. And I think it was the Maggie template. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. There were two different templates I was trying to decide. And I remember like you messaged me or something as I was like looking through them and trying to figure out. And you really helped steer me towards the Jenna template. And so that really helps me decide. I was like, okay, like she from the outside is saying that this like just already feels more like my brand. And so I knew that was going to give me a even better start. And I also loved how it had so many different layouts I could choose from, so many different design elements that I could pull from. And I just loved how many different I don't know how to describe it, like different layouts, different elements to it, that was going to be really easy for me to like pull from and to design different pages and different parts of my site, because I have so many different offerings.
Yeah, I forgot about that I actually did tell you, like, you need to get the Jenna template because it really does feel perfect for you. So I think I do remember saying that. Yes. So that's awesome. And you've made it like, people, I'm sure everyone want to go see it, but you customize it a lot, which is something I want to talk about, but it still has the original template. So you didn't like completely overhaul it, but you did a great job making it unique to you. Okay, let's talk about this though first. What results did you see from when, that initial day? Because you actually did you did a launch with the new site and like talked about it versus just kind of putting it out there and being like, okay, people will go see it. You talked about it. What results did you see that day with launching it? Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode.
Yeah. So with the launch itself, I have an online shop right now that's primarily for photographers and just different shop products like workflows, presets, an online course on shooting wedding details, different things like that. And so I decided to put my shop on sale as well as my brand. And I think I'm trying to remember. I wish I had the exact stats. I know I had over like 3,000 unique viewers on my website within those 2 days. So obviously I had a lot of eyes like looking at my new brand, a lot of people on there. And so I kind of took advantage of that and decided to turn it into a 2-day sale as well. And actually I think I got the idea from you because you mentioned doing like a 2-day sale on your website templates one time. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll try it out and see how it works. So I ended up making over $3,000 in those 2 days. So it was definitely really cool to see how using the traction I was already getting onto my website and putting a sale on my shop. And I'll be honest, if you compare that to my initial shop launch sale, that I had when I launched the products, it's not as much as that, obviously. But I also think I did not hardly market the sale. That makes sense. So it was very passive in the sense that a lot of my emails, the 2 emails that went out, or maybe there was 3 on Monday and Tuesday of the sale, were very focused on my new brand. And maybe the one on the second day was oh, by the way, there's also a shop sale. And I wasn't pushing it to social media very much. It's very much all about the new brand versus the sale. And so that was kind of a cool little win from launching it and immediately seeing that right away. I more passively put my shop on sale and I was still able to see that.
Yeah. And that's amazing. So, okay. And when I had questions on that, so the sale, it was pre-existing products. How long had you had the shop up before the new site?
So I had released those products in May. So June, July, not even 3 months. And it was primarily to a very similar audience. If you listen to our episode on Reels, you'll know that more recently since then, I've been able to grow my audience a lot through Instagram Reels. But before that, my audience was growing, but it wasn't growing super rapidly. So a lot of it was to the same people that had just launched those products to, and I was still able to generate that kind of sale.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it was a 2-day sale, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. And then one more question on the sale, because I think that's super interesting. What price point, what's the range of the cost of your products?
Yeah. So I think my lowest price point is my joyful posing prompts for photographers, which are $14 originally, and then go up to my online course, it's $297 on sale. So it's pretty big range. I would say most of the shop $30 to $60 price point, but I do have a few that are kind of outside that range.
I mean, that makes the 3,000 even more impressive of it was on lower cost offers. Cause sometimes people think, oh, you got to make, it needs to be $997 in order to make money with it. But yeah, that's incredible. Okay. And then you saw some other cool results too, if that's not already enough. What were some of the other things you saw when you launched?
Yeah. Yeah. So since I've launched it, I mean, I would say the biggest thing I keep hearing from people over and over again, whether it's like clients, whether it's students of mine, whether industry peers, is how much my personality shines through. And that's so like encouraging because before, like that was the number one thing that I wanted was for someone to go on my website and feel like they were getting to know me and my personal brand. And it wasn't just looking pretty or wasn't just, have a list of all the things I offer, but people truly felt like they were getting to know me, my personal brand, scrolling through the website and getting a really good idea of who I was. And so I can't even tell you how many people have told me like, oh my gosh, your website feels like you. It feels like I'm just scrolling and like getting to know you even more. And even people who know me personally are like, oh, like this definitely feels 100% like you. Even though like my last website was really beautiful, the website I have now is 100% like me and my personality. Another thing I've noticed since launching my shop is I've noticed a more steady stream of shop product income since launching my new brand. And that's without like launching any new products. So that makes sense. So before, like I had live launches and I made the majority of my income from the live launches. What I've noticed is it shifted a little bit from I haven't launched any new products since I launched my brand, but I've still seen a very steady stream of income from my shop, and it hasn't like just dropped off because I'm not live launching. So that's been really exciting. And I think the new brand definitely has helped me become just more, have more credibility as an educator and have more of a, I want to say like up levels. I feel like there's another word for that. But it's like up leveled my online presence and really like honestly just created a brand that feels more like me, and it's more my brand is rooted in that and is giving me more credibility in just my shop and people wanting to invest in learning from me.
I love all that. And you're right that like, I want to point this out as well, that your other websites, I remember looking at it when we first started chatting on emails about it. It really was a beautiful website, which that's something too that people should just hear of, like, your brand evolves over time. So like, even if a site you have now is really great, it doesn't mean it'll be the best fit for you like forever in your business. Your website needs to grow and change with you as your business evolves. So that's something to think about just with websites in general. But those ones are amazing.
Yes. I did that custom brand. It was only like a year and a half ago, maybe is when it launched. So I hadn't even had that brand for very long. And I was like, this is not me anymore.
And what was your site before that then? Before that last one?
Oh, it was a show it site. I think it was a template from somewhere else. I had Pro Photo for a while. I don't know if you even know what it is. It's like a WordPress plugin, and then you can have templates. And so I had that for a while. Then I switched over to Show It, and then I had a rebrand with the designer.
Okay. Yeah. So you've mostly, Pro Photo. I mean, people don't even talk about that one as much anymore. Photographers definitely will know what you're talking about though, I think. But okay. So you're really, and that's something we can talk about as well, of like, you customize your site really quickly, I would say, actually, for as many, like you have a big site. So that's only two. Okay. Let's talk about this real quick. Stephanie already had an existing website on Show It, which meant she was looking at her stuff being like, oh, wow, I have a lot of pages. I have to like redesign, rework into the styling of a new template, but you still did it really quickly. And you actually did change the template. You weren't just like plugging your information in. So like, how did you do it as quick? What tips do you have around it all? Of that.
Yes. I will say it was a big project. I think I tracked my time working on it. And I think at the end of the day, I had like worked over 50 hours solely on my website, like, reworking the pages, copy, all of that fun stuff. So it was a little bit of a big task, but I will say that one thing that helped me was already knowing Show It and being experienced with Show It. So I think that's one thing that did help me, like kind of going into it and kind of knowing the platform and knowing a lot of the ins and outs and the quirks about it and knowing what to do. I mean, it still took a lot of time, but I think it helps that I already had that, as well as like my copy kind of mostly written before I went to put it in your template. And so I know like Elizabeth, she basically gives you an entire course on how to customize your Show It website. So if you're at the place where you're like, I don't even know what in the world, how do you show it or anything, like she gives you so much information on how to do that. So if you just like binge watch her course first, you'll basically know everything you need to know, how to plug everything in, and it's great. So I think the one thing that helped me too, that I just mentioned too, was having the copy pre-written. I think that helps me a lot to have an idea of how to structure like different pages, what I wanted on it. So I think writing the copy out first can be really helpful to kind of give you a direction of, if you don't want to just like plug in what's already in the template, like maybe have an idea, at least if you, what you want to talk about, you want to have on your different pages. That was really helpful for me. And another thing that helped was having like a lot of dedicated time to sit down. In other words, like batch working on my website, instead of like trying to, do an hour here, an hour there, or an hour on a different day, like really condensing that and doing maybe 3 or 4 hours at a time. And I found that once I got in the mode of like working on the website and sitting down and doing it, it was a lot easier for me to knock out a lot of the different pages, instead of like trying to do it at all these different times. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to, because it can be something that can be overwhelming, I think, because there are so many different moving pieces to it. And it's a lot to think about. Oh, and one thing I just thought about that I did when I was adding my different pages, what I did with some of my pages is able to add the page in to my new site from my old website. So a lot of the pages on my old website, even though I did custom brands, because that was before I had all my education. So I had to create all the shop pages myself, product pages myself, stuff like that. And I really reworked a lot of the site, honestly, after having that brand done just over the past year. And so I was able to basically import that into my new site, add the branding. So there's an option to show it when you add pages, like you can automatically apply like your colors and your fonts and stuff. And so I would often do that just to kind of give me a starting base. And then I could go in and add like the logo at the top, the footer at the bottom, all that stuff, if I didn't want to have to like completely redesign it from scratch, basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, to kind of explain to what you're saying, like you were choosing pages you already had and not starting from scratch on them with the template, which is really smart, because if you're already using Show It, you have like, it'll transfer over. Show It lets you do, it's called applying fonts and colors. And I do that even with like literally on my own site. I sometimes will use pieces of my templates when I need to like update something real quick. And I'm just doing that, apply fonts and colors. So I could be using something from the Sophie template, but then like it doesn't look like it at all. Yes. Okay. I love that. And what other softwares are you using alongside Show It? So like let's start with like your shop, for example. What are you using as like the shop integration?
Yes. So I use Shopify and Kajabi. And eventually I'll probably switch everything over to Kajabi. But for now, what's working well for me is having some of my smaller products that are like just downloadable like PDFs within Shopify, and then having Kajabi host my bigger products that have like video tutorials, full-on courses, mini courses, my presets, stuff like that. That's a little bit more fleshed out and has a lot of information that's included within the product.
Yeah. Okay. You're using Shopify Lite, right? To clarify. Or is it actually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, like, just for people listening, like, Show It does not have built-in e-commerce capabilities, which I always say that in the sentence. People are like, wait, what? Oh my gosh, that's so scary. Because stuff like Squarespace and Wix actually do have built-in, which a lot of people who use those softwares, though, are not using the built-in because it's not necessarily that great. So with Show It, though, you're embedding, if you wanted to do like a shop like what Stephanie has, you're embedding Shopify Lite. It's a $9 a month for that subscription. And then like I always recommend, if you're a course creator, I use Kajabi for my courses as well. And you can do the checkout pages actually through Kajabi and then just link to it through Show It. It sounds complicated, but it's totally doable. And there are tutorials on how to do it in the Compelling Copy Blueprint and then the Show It Blueprint. I show you how to do that with Kajabi specifically. So yeah, that's awesome. And then with your email list, what are you using for that?
I currently use Flowdesk. I actually just switched over recently, and I've been loving it.
Yes. And I have a coupon code for Flowdesk we can link to as well. Yes, I love Flowdesk too. Okay, let's see. What else? You bought the Jenna template, which for reference, everyone, I have some templates that are like what I call full site templates, which means it's all the pages like about page, service page, contact page, things like that. And then I have the sales funnel kits, which are meant for selling like a sales page type thing where you have one singular product, typically at a higher price point, and you need a sales page for it. So you actually this week, like not even that long ago, bought the Sarah sales funnel kit. So let's talk about that. What's your use for that? And like, how is it going through it all?
Yeah, I guess so. Basically, I'm kind of at the point where my course is launching a little over a month from now. And so I'm kind of starting to flesh out like what the sales page is going to look like. And obviously, I had one for my last website, but it wasn't really, I just wanted something that was super cohesive with the rest of my website. And the one I had used before, like, wasn't. And obviously, like, I love how your websites are built so much for strategy and for getting people to convert into buyers. And so I just knew like it would take me way longer to try to create something myself that might work okay than to just purchase a sales. And I also love how you included the compelling copy blueprint, and I could kind of use that to help guide like writing the sales page and writing the copy for it. It was almost like a no-brainer when I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, she has a sales page template. I'm like, I am doing that because I need that ASAP.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I love the compelling copy blueprint course and the whole template thing. Have you used yet? You might not have, but how I'm forgetting what the platform is. I'm like blanking on it, but there's a process street guide. That's what it is. That's laying out each section. Have you gotten to that yet?
I haven't.
Okay, so that's
No.
it's in like the second module, but I like literally, you guys, if you were to like just go look at the template itself, like in the way it's sold, there's all these different sections. You can kind of tell because that's why sales pages work, that like you see one section that has a specific purpose and then another section. And so there's a guide that comes with it and videos as well that walk you through like, okay, this section, here's the purpose, here's how to like figure out what to write in it. This is really helpful. So it's a good sales page framework. And I'm excited to see you launch with it and like convert it into the Jenna template vibes.
Yes, I am so excited.
Okay, so let's go back to this. So you customized it quite a bit to make it really unique to you, like customize the template. And so what are some things you did to help you figure out your own brand and like truly making a brand from the template?
Yeah, great question. I think something that helped me, well, first of all, I am by no means a graphic designer, but back in high school, like I was obsessed with like digital art, digital design. Like I taught myself HTML.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I obviously like it's so different now, but like I do have genuine like love for that kind of stuff and just like enjoy it. And so it helps me to first off have a vision for what I wanted the brand to look like. So almost like, like a brand board, right? Like that you would do with a designer. So that can really help, even if you don't change it a whole lot from what Elizabeth initially like gives you as far as colors and stuff, kind of just having, having an idea of what you want your overall vibe to look like, your overall feel. And I know Elizabeth probably knows way more about this than I do about how to actually do this practically. But that's something that really helped me just like from going in there and deciding how I want to change things like visually. And then something that a little more practically that helped me too was a website called Creative Market. And I was able to go in there and there's so many things you can grab from that, but there's like different design elements, there's different fonts. And I know specifically, I wanted my website, even though it was a template, I did want to customize it a little bit so that if someone else bought the same template, you couldn't really tell that it was the exact same template, if that makes sense. So one way that I was able to do that too is to find an exact like scripty font that I really loved and use that on the site instead of the one that was included, just to customize it even more. So if there's, a template, maybe you're like, oh, I like it, but like I would change this font or I would change this element. Like there's still so much you can do to customize. Like the beauty of what Elizabeth gives you is like a really, really, really good starting base that you can either just change not much at all and it's going to be awesome, or you can change as much as you want. And it's saving you all of that time of doing the groundwork of having to start from the beginning and creating it from scratch.
Yes. And yeah, with the font thing, I mean, something too that sometimes people don't realize because not all softwares are like this, but with Show It, you really can change, like you could see like there's a script font in this template, change it out to another script font. You might have to adjust the sizing some, but then after that, you're able to like in one place, apply it to everywhere that font was used in the template. So it's not like you're going through every single time and having to find that one thing you're changing. And yes, I love Creative Market. And something too to note with the templates, you do get the info on all the fonts that are used in it. And if it was a paid font, you get a link where you can buy it. And most of them are from Creative Market. If it was free, you get a link to where like you could go download the font. And I always use a mix of paid and free. I think the Jenna template had one paid maybe, and then the rest were free. But yeah, did you change one or two fonts? I think you changed two, right?
I think I did change two.
Yeah.
I think one was a free one and one I found on Creative Market that I really liked.
Yes, that's awesome. And with the brand board thing, like what did that look like for you? Give me a little bit more detail on that. Like, were you finding stuff on Pinterest that you liked or what?
Yeah. So I went on Pinterest for inspiration to like find inspiration, like what I wanted it to look like visually. I came across this random, I don't even know where you would find it. I found it somehow on Pinterest, like a brand board template where I could kind of plug in some of those different images and plug in the different fonts I was planning to use, the colors I was planning to use, just to kind of see it all come together and give myself a really good idea before I actually went into the template and started customizing everything.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. And another question. So for people who are like, because you've used Show It for a while now and you use my templates as well, now two of them, but for people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm used to fill in the blank other website software and it's so hard to edit. Like I can't customize I can't move the logo from this position to that position. I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of having to look at code, all of that kind of stuff. Like, how would you explain like the ease of use of Show It to someone and how much you can change?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like it is so easy because it's all visual. Like you don't have to know any code. You don't have to know. It's not even like in past website platforms I used. It was almost like, there was different blocks and you had to like change things on the back end and then save it and see what it looks like on the front end. Like it wasn't visually connected in that way. But with Show It, it's literally like you just drag and drop the size of things where you want them to be, and then Show It takes care of coding that for you. And so you're not having to know how to do any of that crazy stuff. And if you're a visual person, which if you're a creative person, you probably are, a lot of us are, it's really helpful when you do a website because you literally can just drag and drop where you want things and you don't have to know any coding or anything like that.
Yeah. And that's something that shocks so many people is that like, yes, like the way you phrased it is perfect, that like Show It is coding it for you. Cause like, yes, there's always code involved when it's the internet, but like you aren't having to look at it. And the only time you're looking at code is when you're doing something like embedding your Flowdesk form, embedding a Dubsado form, or like whatever, embedding Shopify Lite. But even still, you're not editing the code yourself. You're just taking like, hey, this software gives you the code. I'm going to paste it here. And there's like tutorials again in the Show It Blueprint course on like how to add all that stuff. But yes, it's so hard for me to explain to people sometimes. I get emails where they're like, can I move the logo in this template? I like where it's placed, but I kind of like it on the left instead of the center. And it's like, yes, you can do that. It's like actually just like literally you just move it. And it's that simple.
Yep.
So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's so easy.
Yes. Okay. Last question. So to someone who is listening and who is like thinking about getting a template, but maybe they're on the fence, and maybe just feeling held back for whatever reason, what would you say to them about getting a template?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I'd say is just do it because it's the best. But if you're scared that you're not going to know like how to customize it, or like Elizabeth just said, like you want to move something and you're not sure if you can, like that should really be the least of your worries, because not only is Show It like just so easy because it's all visual and you can move everything around. But Elizabeth, like we've already mentioned, like she gives you an entire course on how do you Show It. And so she's basically telling you exactly like how you can do all of these things. So if you need like an exact walkthrough, she is so great at explaining things and explaining like how to do different things and how to change different things. And my brand even looks so different from the original template that I got because I was able to customize so much of it so easily. And yet, like, even though it is a template, it has such a high-end feel, and it almost has a custom feel without it actually being a custom website, which is the awesome thing about them. And so if you feel like you need help in even customizing things, Elizabeth is basically giving you a template that is like 99% of the way there of how you're going to want your website. And then she's also giving you everything you need to know on how to actually customize it without having to spend like hours and hours and hours creating something from the ground up. And honestly, like my website looks so much better than it ever would if I tried to do it all on my own. And so just branding in general is I feel like an important part of your business. It's such a foundational part of your business. It's kind of what helps to like ground your business in so many ways, and something you can come back to and base so many things off of that. And so if you're looking for a website template that's going to help you create a website that has a really strong brand, a really strong foundation, then I say look no further, because me personally, I spent hours and hours and hours looking for a website that truly like was designed very intentionally, that also looked really beautiful, had a lot of personality, but also had a lot of strategy behind it, and someone who understood how to do that. And I just kept coming back to Elizabeth's, and I was like, I just have to do it, because I couldn't not do it after knowing just all of the intention that she puts behind her template. So if you're considering it, let this be the thing that lets you decide to do it, because you should totally do it.
Yes. Yay. I love that. Yes, you should totally do it. Yeah. And I mean, what you said too of how your brand feels custom, like it literally, your website to me, I've like spent so much time on your website. I don't think I've told you that, but I really love your website. Actually, funny thing, the day you launched it, I like made a graphic for you because I was so obsessed with it.
Yes, I saw that. I loved it.
Like, I want to share about this, so I'm going to like make this for her and send it to her. But your website feels like $1 million, and it does feel so you. And it's interesting too, like there are a lot of people listening who do, like you said, they like the creative stuff, and they might not be designers, or I even have had some designers buy my templates who are not web designers, but maybe they do branding. And so they have that eye, which you definitely have that eye. But it's like people who have that eye will have fun changing it up a lot. And then some people don't want to change it up a lot, and you don't have to. So there's both ways of that. And I'll link in the show notes, but there's a page on my site, the showcase page, Stephanie's site is on there, as well as like 60 other people who've used the templates, and you can click directly to their website and see it live. But seeing like it tells underneath it their industry and then what template they used. And so it's helpful to see, like, you'll see some where you're like, oh, wow, that looks nothing like the original template. And you'll see some that look more close to it. So it's really fun. But anyway, this was awesome. Thanks for like sharing your story with it and sharing about your launch wins and all of that. So can you tell people, if they aren't already following you from the last episode, where they can find you and where they can go to see your website and everything?
Yeah, so my website is stephaniecase.com, and it is Case with a K. And my Instagram's at Stephanie Lynn Case. You can also find me on YouTube at Stephanie Case. And yeah, you can come hang out with me at any of those places.
Awesome. Guys, go check out the website templates. And thank you, Stephanie, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Thank you for listening to the podcast this week, friend. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you about something. I would encourage you to check out my website template shop. Over on elizabethmccravy.com, you'll find Show It website templates, and they are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. I don't know, maybe it is, and maybe you don't want to hurt its feelings, but you know it's true. And your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers. And that's what these website templates do on MShop. These are pre-made website templates built for the Show It platform, where you can plug and play your content into the template with ease and then get started with a website that is made to actually make you money. Isn't that what we all want, right? So go shop the templates at elizabethmccravy.com/shop. That link is also in the show notes. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate it if you left a rating and review for the show on Apple Podcasts, or even just share it with a friend. It's a great way to support the show and then give us your feedback. So thanks so much for listening.